Imagine standing in front of a mirror, looking deeply into your own eyes, and realizing that the biggest enemy you will ever face is staring right back at you. Most people spend their entire lives fighting the wrong battles. They blame the economy, they blame their parents, they blame their bad luck, or they blame the people who walked out on them. But what if the only thing holding you back from the life you desperately want is a single lie? You have been telling yourself for years? The lie that you are not ready. The lie that you have failed too many times to start over. If you are listening to this right now, it is not an accident. This is your wake-up call. In the next few minutes, your entire perspective on pain, failure, and your future is going to change forever. Do not stop listening, because the message at the end of this story is exactly what your soul needs to hear today. Once upon a time, in a quiet valley surrounded by sharp, jagged mountains, there lived a young man named Julian. Julian was a man who possessed big dreams, a kind heart, and a brilliant mind. But he also carried a heavy burden. For the past 3 years, everything Julian touched seemed to turn into dust. He had started a business that failed completely, leaving him in deep debt. The person he loved the most had abandoned him when times got tough. And to make matters worse, his health was failing because of the constant stress and anxiety that kept him awake every single night. Julian felt like a ghost walking in a living world. He looked around and saw his childhood friends buying houses, getting promoted, and building beautiful families. Meanwhile, he was trapped in a dark room, staring at the ceiling, wondering why life was punishing him so brutally. He felt completely broken, like a piece of shattered glass that could never be put back together. One rainy morning, unable to bear the weight of his own thoughts, Julian decided to leave his village. He had heard stories of an old master craftsman named Kyle, who lived high up in the mountains. People whispered that Kale possessed a strange wisdom, and that anyone who visited his workshop left with a changed heart. Julian did not know what he was looking for, but he knew he could not stay where he was. After a long and exhausting journey, Julian arrived at Kale's workshop. The air smelled of burning coal and hot iron. Inside, the old man was standing in front of a massive roaring furnace, his face covered in sweat and soot. He was holding a piece of raw, ugly, misshapen iron with heavy metal tongs. Without looking up, Kyle spoke in a deep, calm voice, saying, "I knew you would come. Sit down." Julian sat on a wooden bench watching the old man. Kale took the ugly piece of iron and thrust it deep into the heart of the blazing fire. The flames turned white hot, swallowing the iron completely. Julian watched in silence as the metal began to glow a furious, bright red. It looked as if the iron was suffering under the intense heat. After a long time, Kale pulled the glowing iron out of the fire, placed it on a heavy steel anvil, and picked up a massive hammer. With incredible force, Kale began to strike the iron. Every blow echoed through the mountains. Sparks flew in every direction. The iron was being crushed, bent, and flattened under the heavy blows. Julian could not stay silent any longer. He stood up and shouted over the noise, "Master, why are you doing that? Why are you putting that poor piece of metal through such horrible fire and painful beating? What did it do to deserve this?" Kale stopped his hammer. He looked at Julian with eyes that seemed to see right through the young man's soul. He smiled gently, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and said, "This raw iron comes from the dirt. In its natural form, it is weak, brittle, and completely useless. If I try to use it to build a bridge, it will break. If I try to make a tool out of it, it will bend. To make it valuable, I must put it through the fire. The fire burns away all the impurities. The fire makes it soft and workable." The old man paused, then lifted his hammer again. "And this hammer? The hammer is not trying to destroy the iron. The hammer is reshaping it. Every blow gives it form. Every strike makes it stronger, denser, and sharper. But there is a secret you must know, young man." Kale pointed to a large barrel of ice-cold water sitting in the corner. "Sometimes when I put the iron in the fire and I hit it with the hammer, it cannot take the pressure. It cracks. It breaks into pieces. When a piece of iron breaks under my hammer, I know it is useless. I throw it into the scrap pile and it stays there forever, rusting away into nothingness." Kale then looked deeply into Julian's tear-filled eyes. "But there are other pieces of iron, pieces that do not break. They endure the fire. They absorb the heavy blows of the hammer. And when they are ready, I plunge them into the cold water. They harden. They become unbreakable. I turn them into swords fit for kings. I turn them into tools that can build empires." Kale walked closer to Julian and placed a heavy, warm hand on his trembling shoulder. "Julian, you did not come here to watch me make a sword. You came here because you are in the fire. You think life is punishing you. You think your failed business, your broken relationship, and your financial stress are signs that you are cursed. But you are wrong. Life is not punishing you. Life is preparing you." The old man's words hit Julian like a lightning bolt. Kale continued, "The universe looks at you and sees a masterpiece. But right now, you are just raw iron. The hardships you are facing are the fire. The betrayals, the lonely nights, the failures, and the tears are the hammer blows. They are beating out your weaknesses. They are burning away your pride, your arrogance, and your false illusions. You have a choice right now, Julian. You can crack under the pressure, give up, and join the scrap pile of history. Or you can stand tall, take the heat, endure the blows, and allow yourself to be shaped into something magnificent. The choice was never up to the fire. The choice has always been up to the iron." Julian stood frozen. Tears streamed down his cheeks, washing away the dust of his long journey. For years, he had viewed himself as a victim of circumstances. He had felt pity for himself. But now, looking at the glowing metal on the anvil, he realized the truth. His pain had a purpose. His struggle was not his executioner, it was his teacher. He looked at the old master, bowed deeply, and said, "Thank you, master. I am not going to break." Julian returned to his village, but he was no longer the same man. He did not get rich overnight. He did not fix his life in a single day. But his mindset had shifted completely. When a new problem arose, instead of crying and asking why it happened to him, he looked to the sky and said, "Test me." When he faced a new failure, he did not see it as a dead end. He saw it as another hammer blow making him stronger. He worked harder. He learned from his mistakes, and he built a new life from the ashes of his old one. Years later, Julian became one of the most respected, successful, and wisest leaders in the entire region. People came from far and wide just to hear him speak, to learn how he became so unshakable. Now, I want to talk directly to you, the person listening to my voice right now. What is your fire? Is it a broken heart? Is it an empty bank account? Is it the fear of failure? Or the pain of being rejected by the people you cared about? Listen to me very carefully. Do not pray for an easy life. An easy life creates weak people, and weak people build a broken world. Instead, pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. Understand that the darkness you are experiencing right now is not the end of your story. It is simply the script changing. It is the necessary chapter that gives your ultimate victory its flavor. You are being tested. You are being refined. Every single successful person you admire today has a backstory filled with trauma, doubt, and failure. They did not become great because they never fell. They became great because every time the hammer hit them, they refused to break. Stop looking at your struggles as a sign that you should quit. See them for what they truly are, an invitation to greatness. You have an iron will inside of you. It is time to stop acting like a victim of your past and start acting like the architect of your future. Wipe your tears, put your shoulders back, look your challenges in the eye, and show the world what you are made of. The fire is hot, the hammer is heavy, but you are unbreakable. Rise up and claim the life you were born to live.